Hello, Feuzion News. My name is Alex Fuse, the host of Feuzion News, and we have another big show for you right now. I'm sitting here with the former voice of the Boston Red Sox, Jerry Trupiano. Jerry, how are you doing today?
Well, I'd like to remove that former, but other than that, we're doing okay.
Well, Jerry, you have a long history in this career of sports broadcasting, something that you mentioned earlier. You spoke in Professor John Rook's class, the voice of the Patriots, and you bring up one word that means a lot to me, and I know it meant a lot to you and still does, is passion. So how would you define the career of sports broadcasting?
Well, I mean, if you go after any career, I think you have to have a passion for it. You have to have a hunger. You have to have a drive to succeed, and that's where I bring in the word passion. And I use that word because knowing so many professionals, not only in this business but in sports, the drive to succeed, it takes that passion. There's got to be a fire within you. You have to be honest with yourself as to your limitations and your abilities, but to use the best of your abilities, to make the most of your abilities, takes that passion. There's got to be sacrifice, there's got to be a work ethic, and there's got to be a drive within you. You put those all together, to me, that's passion.
Who is one person that you looked up to most in this business?
Jack Buck, no doubt. I grew up in St. Louis and was lucky enough to work at KMOX Radio. Jack was the sports director, voice of the Cardinals, did CBS, NFL football. Just a great human being to begin with. Very involved in charities, did a lot of things in St. Louis for a lot of people, even did things nationally for a lot of people. But he took me under his wing, and learning from him how to conduct myself in the business, how to prepare in the business. He critiqued play-by-play tapes I would put together. Just to me, he was my mentor. He was my friend, and I miss him greatly. And he brought along Joe Buck, his son, so he's still having an impact in the business.
When you talk about preparation in the game of baseball or sports in general, when you're getting ready to announce or do a play-by-play broadcast, what would be your daily routine to get prepared enough to really enlighten the listeners that are going to be listening to your broadcast?
Well, it's different in baseball than other sports. Baseball, you're there just about every night. So you spend a lot of time down on the field and in the clubhouse talking to people. Obviously, you read articles about the teams and you read the press notes and you call certain things you want to talk about through the press notes. I didn't use the press notes as much as some people because I like to talk about the strategy of the game, set up things from that standpoint. But I'd have scouting reports on every player and their abilities and their shortcomings. And I would have some notes about their career and some gems, if you will, from the press notes that are pertinent to what's going on. For football, it would take 16 hours during the week putting together a spotting board, going through the press notes, setting up your board, memorizing names and numbers, looking at video of the opposition that you're playing that week to see formations and what they like to do in certain situations. Basketball would probably be 6 hours of prep per game. Hockey, when I was doing hockey, it was just names and numbers and a few notes here and there because that game moves so fast.
Do you have a favorite sport that you just love to broadcast the most?
Baseball. Without a doubt, baseball. To me, baseball is the last area of creative live broadcasting because you have a format that you follow. You're going to take commercial before the game, you're going to take commercial between innings. But what happens during the course of an inning, you cannot script that. You cannot program that. So you might have a pitcher who works very quick and you're moving along at a certain pace, and the guy for the other team that's on the mound, those guys control the pace of the game, he might be taking forever. So you have to be able to inform and entertain at the same time.
When you look at the teams that you have broadcasted for, the Astros, the Red Sox, who was someone that you could rely on most besides a Jack Buck to kind of go up to him and ask him, hey, what do I say here? How do I react differently here? Kind of grow up kind of while you still have that job.
You should have, there's nobody, because when you get to that point, you're in the major leagues, you should be self-reliant. I mean, nobody knows everything, but you should have the confidence that you know how to prepare, that you listen to your tapes from time to time and critique yourself. Believe me, you get a lot of feedback from people. You know, I had one guy tell me one time, well, you called that a pop-up into the outfield. That's a fly ball. I said, no, I know my business. And I said, I've heard Vin Scully call it a pop-up in the outfield, and he's the best there's ever been. So, you know, you get a lot of criticism from the outside, if you will, or critiques from the outside, but you know your business better than most people who think they're critics.
Once again, you called play-by-play for the Boston Red Sox. You were
Mm-hmm.
there in 2004
Mm-hmm.
when the Red Sox made one of the best comebacks in sports history of all time.
The greatest comeback of all time.
Yeah. I'm looking at your right hand right now.
Yeah.
What's on that finger?
2004 World Series ring, and I'd heard people say that, oh, we came back against the Yankees and beat them. That was so great. It didn't matter about the World Series. Baloney. If you come back against the Yankees and you lose the World Series to the Cardinals, that series against the Yankees means nothing. Maybe it means something to some fans who are just fanatical of with their hate for the Yankees. But if you get to the World Series, you want to win that thing. And I'll tell you what, after they beat the Yankees in that American League Championship Series, they could have brought back the 1927 Yankees at their prime. Nobody was going to stop the Red Sox that year. They were a team of destiny.
Well, it almost goes back to the point when the Red Sox won, they were on this hot streak all season long, basically. They never got into that cold slump that people were expecting from them. Once they won 100 games, I kept saying, it doesn't matter how many games you win in a regular season. At this point, once you clinch the division, it's if you win the World Series. And it goes back to your main point. Well, if the Red Sox beat the Yankees in 04, sure, but can they win the World Series? They did that. Now everyone talks about the greatest comeback of all time. One moment that sticks out to you most from that 2004 series, what is that?
Dave Roberts' stolen base. The World Series or the playoff series?
Just in general.
I think the Dave. Well, there's so many. It's hard to say. The Dave Roberts stolen base, followed by the Bill Miller hit to score Roberts to get the tying run home. Then in that game, Ortiz hits the walk-off home run to win it. The next night, Ortiz gets a walk-off single to score Johnny Damon to win it. And it's really unusual for me to go to New York and be confident because I've seen so many bad things happen to the Red Sox in my 14 years with them in New York, including two kids from a church group running onto the field, negating the last out of a ball game when the Red Sox were up 3 runs. And then since they negated the last out, the game continued. The Yankees came back and scored 4 in the bottom of the ninth to win that game. I went to New York. They were down 3 games to 2, but I had confidence for some reason that they were going to win. And darn if they didn't.
One of my favorite segments on Feuzion News is the Fast 5 Quick Questions.
Okay.
There's just 5 quick questions. First question for you would be, if you had to go on a plane ride for over 10 hours, who would you want to sit next to?
Jackie Robinson, if I could pick somebody that's not with us today. Just to me, he is the most impactful human being that we've had in sports and really in American history, and partly in American history.
Favorite city and ballpark to enjoy a baseball game in besides Boston?
Wrigley Field, maybe. Camden Yards was great in Baltimore, but Wrigley Field is unique. Tough place to get a cab after the game, though. Whew.
Not Yankee Stadium?
I had too many nightmares at Yankee Stadium, including some knucklehead who jumped out of the upper deck and onto the screen, and everybody thought he was dead. And after a 15-minute delay, John Shulock, the plate umpire, said, "Let's go." And after a couple of pitches, this knucklehead gets up and does the WWE, "I'm alive, I'm Hulk Hogan."
Oh, boy. Third one would have to be favorite snack to enjoy before or in a late inning baseball game.
Frozen yogurt.
Favorite drink to have during the broadcast?
Back in the day would have been Diet Coke, but now water. I gave up Diet Coke.
If you could make a major league debut, what position would you play?
Third base.
Any reason why?
Some of my favorite players have been third basemen: Ken Boyer, Brooks Robinson, Tim Naring, my son Brian. I like the hot corner.
Last question I always love to ask broadcasters or baseball fans in general. If a 15-year-old kid came up to you and told you they don't understand baseball and they're never going to watch, what would you say to them?
Give it a chance. Don't shortchange yourself because it is a great game. It takes time to learn all the facets of the game. What do they say about men in the United States that they're experts on two things, sex and baseball, and really they probably don't know that much about either one. But when you're in the ballpark, night in and night out, and you've been in the game like I have for over 20 years, you learn a lot of the nuances of the game. The cat and mouse game between pitcher and hitter, it's terrific. And I'm not a big fan of the DH. I know we need more offense in baseball, but I like the cat and mouse game too, with the manager having to make decisions. And if you're a pitcher and you're going to throw at somebody, you know, I want to see you have the intestinal fortitude to have to stand in there at the plate and take your lumps. If you to throw at somebody and then to go hide. But there's such a lack of offense in the game right now. I guess I'd put the DH. They should do it in both leagues.
Mm-hmm. Well, to go off the point about low offense, Jason Stark, one of the most respected baseball reporters, just came out with a news article in the last few days, kind of an editorial saying baseball should ban the shift. I'm
coming over to that. They lowered the mound in 1968. Every sport that we follow in North America, I'm not much on soccer. I've broadcast in the North American Soccer League. I thought that summer would never end. I just irritated a lot of people I know. But every sport has done things to accommodate the offense. And when you have more strikeouts than hits in Major League Baseball, something has to be done. And for those who say, well, teach these guys to hit the other way. The guy considered the greatest hitter of all time had the shift go against him. And he was able to still do his thing without hitting the ball the other way a lot. So let's do away with the shift. Let's get more offense, and let's have some entertainment for the fans.
Well, Jerry, I want to say thank you so much for joining me here in the Dean College TV studio here today, and of course talking about your career throughout sports broadcasting. It's something I have a passion for, like we talked about earlier, and I just want to say it means a lot for you to take your time out of your day to come sit here with me today and talk about your career and the passion that you have as well.
Alex, glad to do it anytime.
So Feuzion News, Feuzion Nation, I want to say thank you for watching. Always be a subscriber of Feuzion News, and I will be seeing you very soon. Thanks for watching.